Hi everyone, and welcome to Creative Chelsea. If you like this video, please let me know by giving it a thumbs up or commenting below. If you want to see more of my videos, press the subscribe button and click on the bell for notifications. If you need any Stampin' Up! Products to make this card, you can visit my online store and the link is in the description box below. When you purchase Stampin' Up! Products through me, you can earn free products. Check out my current customer appreciation products on my blog, and the link is listed below in the description box. Today I'd like to share with you some fun products found in the Sale-a-bration catalog. So during January through February 2021, when you make a qualifying purchase, you can choose a free product from this Sale-a-bration brochure. And the same offer is also online. So the qualifying purchases are either $50 or you can have some products that are, let me get to one of them, $100. And there are two different levels. So level one would be the $50. And then when you hit level two, it would be $100 and you can choose one of these products. So the products that I'm sharing with you today that are Sale-a-bration products are the Oh So Ombre Paper. So this is a really fun paper pack. It comes with 48 6x6 sheets of paper and they all have an ombre look. And you can see here that this side has the circles and you're getting, the colors are Bermuda Bay, Blackberry Bliss, Granny Apple Green, and Rococo Rose, along with white. And then on the other side, you can see that they're double-sided, so you're going to get that same print, just with a different color. And then the other design is just a solid ombre. And then again, you're getting the just a coordinating color on the other side. So this is a really fun paper pack, and it comes with a ton of paper. So today I'm using the solid ombre side of that paper pack along with the gilded leafing to create this fun background pattern. And I'm going to share with you that new technique on how to use the gilded leafing. If you're interested in seeing some more techniques on how to use gilded leafing, you can click on this playlist and I will link it up in the top right corner. Another fun thing I'm using are two different stamp sets. The first one is Heal Your Heart, and this is another Sale-a-bration stamp set, and you can get this one with a $50 purchase, and the same is with the paper. That's a $50 purchase that you can get the paper free with. And so we're using this Together greeting, and we're just going to be fussy cutting that out. So the other stamp set I'm using is Back to Back Blooms. And this one is a new stamp set that's in the new January through June mini catalog. You can also find these items online using the link in the description box below. And so we're going to be using that to create some fun focal point along with some embellishments. And we're coloring with our Stampin' Blend Markers, which are just our alcohol markers, and they just do a really beautiful job of adding color and depth and shadow and highlight. And so let's go ahead and get started creating this card. So to begin, we're going to start with that background and creating this fun texture with the gilded leafing. So to do this technique, you're going to need a silicone mat and some liquid glue. I have a couple of these silicone mats. I really love them. I use them with all different types of adhesive, including hot glue. So I have one for each different type. And then I've got a paintbrush and some water, and then just a paper plate that I'm going to squeeze some liquid glue onto. And then I'm going to add some water to that liquid glue. And this is just going to thin out the glue and give me something that I can kind of spread onto the silicone craft sheet, and then we'll apply our paper onto that. So now you're just going to paint that glue back and forth over the silicone craft sheet. You just want to get enough coverage to fill the designer series paper or whatever cardstock you're adding to it. Okay, so now you're going to take your paper and flip it over so that you have the color that you want. And then you're just going to kind of tap on it. And what this is going to do is add the glue mixture just in some places on your paper. So it's not going to be all over. And now we're going to go ahead and let this dry. You can either put it off to the side or you can speed the process up with a heat tool. Okay, so then once that's dry, it may curl up on you just a little bit, but you're going to have some places that are a little bit tacky, and the gold leafing is going to stick to those areas. So I just take the gilded leafing out of the container and add it to kind of a Tupperware, and this is just going to give me a little more space to use it. And then I like to remove my little sponges that I use. I just add my paper right into the Tupperware. Oh, it can get pretty messy with this stuff. And then once it's added to my paper, then I kind of just press and wipe, and it will stick to the areas where the glue is, and then it will come off where it isn't. And you just want to make sure you do it over the Tupperware so that you don't make too big of a mess. Okay, so here is my background. And one of the fun things about this technique is that every time you do it, you are going to get a different look on your background piece. If you do want a heavier gold in the background, you just need to add more glue to the glue and water wash. And then when you're tapping it, do bigger taps so that the paper is picking up that glue and water mixture. So now for the rest of our card, we're going to need some white cardstock for our stamping and coloring. We're also going to need some black cardstock. I have one for the stamping of the greeting, and we're going to do some heat embossing on that. And then the other one is for our frame. And I have already cut out the large rectangle shape from the Stitched So Sweetly dies here. And then we're going to just use our paper cutter and we're going to cut out the middle part to create that frame. And then I have a card base, and I'm just using thick white cardstock, and we're going to add this to the background. And this has already been cut to our cardstock size, which would be 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 to give us a full card front. And then this is just your regular card base size, which is 5 1/2 by 8 1/2 and scored at 4 1/4. So let's go ahead and do some stamping. So I have my Versamark ink, and my stamp is on the clear block. And then I'm going to use an embossing buddy to remove any static or fingerprints that I have on my black cardstock. You just want to be careful with it because you could get a really chalky look to your black if you're not careful. Then I'm inking up my stamp, and I'm just going to go ahead and place that on the black cardstock. And then with some white embossing powder, I'm just going to cover where the stamped image is and tap off. So then we've got the powder on our stamp, and I can heat it up with my heat tool. So when you heat it up, you want to just wait until it gets shiny and it melts together. Okay, so then for my stamping of the flowers, I have some Memento black ink. I like to use this ink when I'm working with Stampin Blend Markers. It just does a really good job of staying in place with those alcohol markers. So I just ink it up really nicely, make sure that middle area has enough ink on it. And then you're just going to stamp that on some white cardstock. Nice even pressure. And then we're going to do 2 leaves. So for this flower, I am using Rococo Rose, both the dark and light Stampin' Up! Blends. And then I'm using Granny Apple Green and Daffodil Delight for my flower and leaves. So the way I like to do this is start with my light color. And I'm just going to fill in the entire shape with light. And this is just going to give me a base color to work with, where then I can add the darker shadows. And I am going to kind of come down that stem just a little bit to give it some color as well. Okay, so there's this light. And now we're going to take the darker color, and I'm just going to add some shadows along the edges on one side of each of those little points of the leaf. Like that. And you can see that it's starting to already blend in with the background, but if you want a little more blending, then you can take the light marker and just blend the edge of that shadow in a little bit more. And you're going to get something like that. So I'm going to go ahead and do that second leaf now. Okay, so now that those two leaves are done, let's work on our flower. So I'm going to start with the light Rococo Rose. And just like the leaf, I'm going to fill in all the petals with the light. Now right around the center, I'm going to just keep a nice area for yellow. So I'm not going to add any color there for now. So just kind of make a circle around that center stamen area of the flower and just leave that part alone. So you'll get something like this using just the light. And now we're going to take the dark. And the first thing I want to do is add shadows on the petals that are underneath the front petals. So I'm just kind of identifying which ones are in the back. And I'm just going to add shadows to those back petals, just right along the edge of the front petal. Okay, so maybe you can see that. And then next, I'm just going to add a little bit of color in the center of each petal. And I'm just kind of brushing it up and into that petal. So there's really, it's not very specific, it's kind of painterly. Now I'm going to take the dark Daffodil Delight, and I'm just going to start to add some yellow here in the middle. You can start to see that blending. And then you can either take the dark or the light, and you're just going to kind of bring that color down a little bit around and into that space. So it doesn't feel like such a strong circle of color, but you're kind of getting a little more organic around that stamen. Okay, so something like that. So now we're going to go ahead and fussy cut these images out. So we also need to fussy cut out the word together. All right, so we have fussy cut everything out, and the next step would be to create the frame with our black large scalloped rectangle. So I have my paper trimmer here, and I'm going to use my cutting blade. And I'm going to line up the scalloped, the top of that edge, with the 1/4 inch mark on the right side of my blade. I'm going to start the cut in the middle of that rectangle, and I'm going to come down, or I'm actually just going to go right up, and I'm looking on the right side and stopping at the 1/4 inch cut line. And then I'm just going to rotate and do the same thing on the 1/4 inch, and then I'm going to come up and I'm going to stop at that 1/4 inch marking on that right side. Now, I wasn't really sure where to stop my cut. Okay, so then I'm coming back to that first cut line, and I'm actually just going to find where I need to stop my cut. So on the left side, I'm going to come down to that cut line I've made already, and that's going to create that cut on that side. So now I'm going to rotate to the opposite side, go up to the 1/4 inch line marking, and then I'm going to go back to the previous cut. And this just kind of gives me a line here that I can stop at, because I'm just not really sure where that line should end, because the measurements of my rectangle aren't exact. So I hope that's not confusing. But what I'm doing is stopping at the exact marking on the top at 1/4 inch, and then coming down, and I'm trying to connect with the line I've previously cut. And then I do have to sometimes go back to an old cut line and come down to a cut that I just made. So you're going to get something like that. Okay, so we are now ready to put our card together. So go ahead and fold your card base in half and use a bone folder to make a nice crease. I am going to use some liquid adhesive to apply my designer series paper to the front of my card with, and that just is going to give me more ability to move it so that it's in the right location. So I've just placed some on the back, and I'm going to rotate it so more of that gold is at the top. And then I'm just going to go ahead and lay that onto my card base, and I can just shift it slightly if I need to, and line it up with the edges. And then once it's where I want it, then I can use my bone folder on the inside and smooth that glue out so that I'm getting no bumps on my card, because that liquid glue will create bumps if you don't smooth it. Okay, so now we have this nice fun background with that gold gilded leafing. Next, we're going to add our frame. And I am going to add this with a little adhesive in the corners. And then a little bit in the middle of each edge. And this just gets added. You could use glue dots here as well if you wanted to. This just gets added to the center of your card. Just like that. Next, I'm going to use some embellishments from the Forever Greenery Trim Combo Pack. I have the weave ribbon here and the gold twine. So to add this weave ribbon, I'm just going to place some adhesive, and you could use some tear and tape. I just have maybe about an inch or so, and I'm placing it maybe about a ½ inch into that rectangle on the right side. And it's going to be covered with my other elements, and so that's why I'm placing it there. So this is about 3 inches of that weave ribbon, and I'm just going to place it right over the center and that tear and tape adhesive. Next, I'm going to add my images. So I'm just going to start with my flower, and I'm going to add that with some dimensionals. I just have the minis here, but you could also use the regular size. And place that just right above the ribbon. And then add the leaves with the little dimensionals as well. So this one will just kind of go on to the left of that flower, kind of coming out of the frame slightly. This one is going to come kind of the opposite direction in front of the flower, just at the edge of the frame, something like that. And then our together is going to go on top of all of that. But before we do that, we want to add our gold twine. So to begin, I want to take some tear and tape and place that on the back here. And this is going to be what is going to help the gold twine stick to the greeting on the back. If you have any that are kind of popping out, just go ahead and fold that back over so it's behind the greeting. Then you're going to take your gold twine and you're going to cut. So on one end I have a knot, and that's keeping it from fraying. And let's go ahead and cut 12 inches. So at the 12-inch mark, I'm going to tie another knot and then another one. So by tying 2 knots, I'm going to then cut between the two, and it will keep both ends of that twine from fraying. This gold twine has a tendency to fray really quickly and easily. So then with that 12 inches, I'm going to find the ends, and then the middle goes right in the center of that greeting. And then I'm going to just wrap those back and forth to create a bow. So even though we're not tying a bow, what we're looking for is just a bow look on the back of that greeting. And so then we can add some dimensionals right over that. Just maybe a couple where you can fit them. And then that is going right underneath your flower and leaf, with just maybe the slightest bit of the weave ribbon showing. So something like that. And then the last thing I've added are some of the elegant faceted gems. These are just really fun gems. I love the little texture that they have. And they come in 3 different colors. You have a clear, a champagne, and a white. And so I'm going to use the white just so it kind of can pop out against my ombre background. And so they come in 2 sizes, a large and a small. So you can use as many of these as you'd like. I'm going to do Let's do 5 of them. So by using my pickup tool, I can slide them and have them just pop right off. Let's see, we'll put a big one down here and then 2 small ones right there. Okay. Now I just noticed that the ombre, I switched the ombre from one card to the other. And the reason for that is because I wanted the majority of my gold to be at the top. And so just so you can see the difference between how that looks with the dark color either at the bottom or at the top. Well, I hope you enjoyed. So now I want to show you some other examples of this same card using the other images from the back-to-back blooms. So here's the rest of the stamp set. So there are some other images you can use, as well as the different colors of that ombre paper. And also showing you how you can get many different looks with that gilded leafing background technique. And then here's this pretty one in the Blackberry Bliss, and then a fun one in the Granny Apple Green. Well, I hope you enjoyed watching me create this fun card today and that you give it a try. If you're interested in seeing step-by-step instructions as well as close-up images, you can visit my blog at creativechelsea.com. Thanks so much for watching. Have a creative day. Bye.